Hi folks, this is Eric White from the New Jersey Historical Fencing Association with
Tommy Berga.
and we're going to demonstrate today what we call the opportunity drills. These are 3 drills that basically allow you to practice how to defend yourself in general principles and general terms with the sword. Meyer goes over this very specifically in his treatise. The first is to simply parry away your opponent's cut without any real advantage to you. You're just trying to get out of there. Now mentally, you're probably more fearful, or you just don't see an opportunity and you're just trying to protect yourself. So Meyer calls this parrying without any particular advantage. And it looks like this. If your opponent is rushing at you and is cutting. Now, if you saw what I was doing, I was simply using long point. I was here. As Tommy was coming in, he was striking my sword, and I was parrying his sword out of the way. If I didn't, he'd be hitting me. But I'm not really doing anything to stop his forward movement. In fact, I'm backpedaling. So what we have to do is what Meyer calls an abzug. Now, there are many different types of abzugs, which is a withdrawal, and the one to get away from your opponent before your opponent gets the cut at you is to crowd your opponent and then make a cut with backstepping. So, this first type of parrying should look like this. And you move out of the way. That created the distance needed so I can regain my mental faculties. I can kind of compose myself a moment, get my head in the right position it needs to be, in the right state of mind it needs to be, in order to finally now go after Tommy. So that's one option you have. Now it's not the most preferable option, because obviously he's attacking and I'm only on the defense the entire time. Here's a more preferable option. Here's the second way. The second way is to attack or countercut in the knock or in the after. So if your opponent takes initiative, Meyer tells us in a very specific set of examples to use the high cut or scalp cut, the Scheitelhau, in order to weaken the weapon. And what Meyer means by that is to weaken the weapon is to make so the weapon is not in a strong position to fight. I'll show you what it means, what it looks like. There. I'll do it again. That's fighting in the after, or the knock. All right, now, there are many variations of this. Meyer just said you could use the high cut, do it slowly, high cut to weaken the weapon. I came straight down, weakened his weapon, and then cut. All right, now it's less preferable than attacking or countercutting simultaneously, which is the next one, because in that instant, he does have a chance to recover. So I want you to recover. Just get backwards into a guard. Right? Recover. See? You recovered. And that's why it's not as preferable as the next. So, thirdly, Meyer tells us now we can do a versetzen, a parry, where our cut parries and countercuts at the same time. Okay? And so this is what that looks like. Meyer gives us the reverse edge or back edge strikes as examples of this. We can Scheitelhau. Here. Now the Scheitelhau is straight out. I'm using the back edge as my grip. There's my long edge grip. I'll show you again. I'll go slow. As he came in, I stepped to the side, and my back flat, or the back edge, hit the flat, parried, and there's the cut. There's the cut. All right? So back edge cuts do this. That was the Scheitelhau. Show you this Zwerchhau. Also a back edge cut. Here. Right there. Now what I did, to rewind it, make it go a little slower, as he cut in, I put my strong into his strong here and stepped to the side and allowed my back edge to hit. So I'm actually meeting his sword strong on strong with the Zwerch. Cut in. There. Hit him. Okay? So that's another example of an in-des or simultaneous countercut. So again, let's do a review. First way, the abzug without the advantage. To withdraw and just clear your mind and start over, almost like a reboot. All right? Counter cut away as you step back. That's how you get him to stop his onslaught, his forward movement, because you're cutting at him. He has to think about something, and you're moving back. The second one is the knock counter cut, the after counter cut. It doesn't have to be the high cut. You can do this from hanging point, say. Okay. Hanging point works fine. You can practice this with the shrank hook. So if you do a middle half like a midsection, that's all a knock counter cut. Finally, the third one, again, is the in-des counter cut, the simultaneous counter cut. And this is all the short edge techniques. Some of the short edge techniques. There's the shield half, right? Meyer says that it's in the motion of the blade turning the parry happens, the squinter. I do want to point out also that these are general principles. So you'll find other techniques that apply to these general principles of knock and in-des. The four is something that you always want to seize if you can. Meyer tells us the four or the before is seized through in-des. So when Tommy talks to here, and I shield howl, I now have the initiative. I have the four. I've deflected him. Now he's worried about my sword. And if we continue on, well, I have the advantage. Right? So these are the opportunity drills. Give them a try.